Hey guys, quick announcement. Me, Maria Shahada, and Judah Friedlander are all doing a Zoom new material night, May 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What is that in Europe time, Maria?
8 p.m. Greenwich Meridian Time. It's called The Diner, and you get to see the behind-the-scenes process.
We're going to run new material by each other, give each other tags and encouragement. Hour-long show of us testing new material on you, and then we always do a Q&A. And you can buy tickets at lizmiele.com, LIZMIELE.com. It's pay what you can. I hope you guys can come. Hey everybody, welcome to Two Non-Doctors. I'm Liz Miele.
I'm Maria Shahada. We are stand-up comedians.
Stand-up comedians that are currently jobless because of the coronavirus.
We're finally going to be the doctors our mothers wanted us to be.
Is there anything that we don't know?
A lot, actually. We have a lot of questions. We have a lot of answers.
All of them wrong.
But we do have access to
Google.
And a vet.
Oh yeah, my mom's a vet. She knows some stuff. We have to do this
So
again.
every once in a while, we're going to invite her on. No, we don't. We're going to actually use this. Welcome to Two Non-Doctors.
Hi. Welcome
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Every time.
Yep. Okay.
Talk you up. I say hello too, and you go, I wasn't expecting that.
Welcome to Two Non-Doctors. We are, we've spent most of the morning trying to figure out mic problems because we aren't professionals.
No, as you will hear.
As you will hear in the inconsistencies of all our episodes. We're
working on it. It's trial and error. We're working on it.
Yeah, this is, we're just doing our best. And our best isn't great. I mean, that's really what we're discovering.
Who are you?
Oh, I am Liz Miele. Who are you?
I'm Maria Shahada.
Yeah, and we are not doctors. We're not good at tech stuff.
We are two non-techs.
We're two non-techs now. My favorite is that we've tested 3 or 4 microphones with you, and you're like, it's not recognizing it. Let me start over. And then you're like, it wasn't plugged in. And I was like, you know what? That sounds like something we would do.
Genuinely, I'm like, I don't know, man. This thing's not recognizing it, and the output levels, and I'm like Googling like what kind of input does a snowball mic need, and what setting on the 1, 2, and it was like, oh, you know what needs to be plugged in.
Yep.
It's just the thing falls out of the back so easily.
Yeah. No, it's okay. We're doing the best we can. I'm proud of. I mean, let's put it this way: in a very short amount of time, we figured out most of what we're supposed to do to post these things. You figured out editing. Like, I have to say, as two very, I don't want to speak for you, but I have almost no real life skills. And I feel like I've developed more in the last couple of weeks, than, I have in the 34 years I've been on this earth. That is pretty factual.
When you remove all distractions, it's funny how much you can get done.
I wouldn't even say it's remove all distractions, because I did spend a good hour on TikTok the other day, and I was like, this is the epitome of distraction. But I would say move all real work that needs to be done and give a little bit of fear about health and if you're going to be able to pay your bills. And it really sparks you to learn some editing skills.
Nothing makes you learn a skill like fear.
Yeah, yep. All of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn how to pickpocket. I'm going to learn how to start a car without a key. Like, all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm going to be the criminal I always thought I could be.
I was ordering Johnny a lamp on Amazon, and I'll be honest, it was for me.
Okay, great.
Because it has a shelf, and I want to put it on the side of the bed that doesn't have a side table.
Oh, interesting.
I like to drink coffee in the morning. I also like to put my coffee down.
Okay.
And I bought one, and it said easy assembly, which kind of pissed me off. I was like, give me the hard assembly. I'm fucking ready.
I have the time. I love instructions right now.
I've made a hammer out of stone. I am ready. How's your quarantine going?
That was the whole story. Oh, sorry, Muffin. I didn't know. You're like, this is all to tell you that I want more instructions. I think if we could go to IKEA, this would really be the best time to like IKEA your life, because you can't be like, I just want to make a table and move on with my life. The table is your activity.
I wouldn't be hiring anyone. I was just doing it myself. Yeah. It's like I made a coffee table myself once, and I felt like queen of the world. It feels good to assemble your own furniture.
I completely agree. The level of anger towards an inanimate object is, I don't like people seeing that in me. And I have roommates. I don't know if they've seen it as much as they've heard me yell at a table in my own room. But I years ago, probably like 5 years ago, I like lockers. I've always loved like, it's for somebody that hated school. I've always loved school lockers. And so from Home Depot, they had a stack of lockers. So like think like gym cubby size, and it was just really tall. And it wasn't IKEA, so it was like no instruction. It was like truly like a couple of pictures and just a bunch of screws and stuff. So my sister was staying with me, my little sister, and so we tried putting together 2 times and it never matched up. We always had extra screws, things weren't put together right. I was like, are we morons? I was like, I just don't understand. So I'm looking on the internet. We took it apart again. Finally, my roommate, John, was like, I'll do it. And we're like, what? He's like, yeah, I'll do it. I was like, okay, we'll help you. He's like, no, I don't need help. Truly, it took us hours to make this thing incorrectly. And we went to lunch. We came back not even 45 minutes later, and it was completely put together. And I was like, I knew I was a moron, but it's so upsetting to have somebody be like, yeah, I got it. And he was like, yeah, I just didn't listen to the instructions. I just went with my intuition. I was like, go fuck yourself, John. Okay. You know what? I don't have intuition. It was never installed in me. There are things that I can pick up pretty quickly, but like directions, I truly am a woman when it comes to directions and just like this, whatever intuitive nature to put stuff together. And I would say that for me, for cooking, like you've seen me where I'm just like, what do you think you use paprika for? And you will tell me all this stuff. And you're like, oh, I thought it was like cinnamon. And you're like, what?
Right.
What a part of that smell did you think cinnamon? And I was like, I don't know. Nobody told me how to do this stuff.
Red and cinnamon sweet.
Oh, like you'll be proud of me. Yeah. You'll be proud of me. You asked me how my quarantine was. I cooked yesterday.
Okay. What'd you cook?
Tacos. It was simple.
All right.
Yeah, it was simple.
That's not bad.
Thank you. We live by our Trader Joe's, so we could like have microwavable anything at any time. And that's pretty much, I mean, I make breakfast, like I'll make eggs, but it's really hard to motivate me. And I used to, I didn't cook forever. And then there was like a 3-year period where I wasn't feeling well, that I was cooking a lot, but I did it reluctantly and with a lot of anger in my heart. And I've talked about it before. Every time I messed up, it was just like, oh, cool. I just flushed $40 down the toilet. Great. And it tastes like cardboard. The time to have cooked it would have been when I was like a teenager and it was my parents' money I was wasting. And it's just really hard to mess up food now. But, this is like very minor cooking in the sense that it's like they give you a packet of taco mix and I just had to cut up an onion and simmer stuff. But it tasted pretty...
ground beef?
It was ground beef.
You are officially a 1990s mother.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to make spaghetti tomorrow and call myself a chef. But I have to say, I was just proud of myself that I made something. So that's where my quarantine is I made tacos, a dish anyone can make. And I was like, I'm a chef. If anybody wants to come to my restaurant, one at a time, clearly.
Do you know what I made in the 45 minutes that I thought we were meeting an hour earlier than we were because of the time change? I had 45 minutes. I made chana sag with coconut basmati rice.
Cool. I don't know what any of those words are, and I'm sure you did it without directions from a packet you bought at a store.
No, it was chickpeas and spinach curry with basmati rice cooked in coconut milk.
Go fuck yourself.
It had lime juice and cilantro. I know, go fuck myself. I know, but yeah, I know it feels good to cook again. You lose sort of like when you have a shitty kitchen. This is what I've noticed about like if I have a shitty kitchen, my love for cooking goes out the window. And then when I have a nice kitchen again, I start to cook more. But
that is true because you had this amazing kitchen in LA. And it was like a full island and you had like counter space for days. I don't even care about kitchens. And even I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. We had a breakfast nook.
You did have a breakfast nook.
I miss that place every goddamn day.
That was probably one of the prettiest apartments. Your roommate was batshit crazy, but that was one of your prettiest apartments.
Wait, Kat?
No, this is a different... Oh, we're thinking of different LA apartments.
Oh my God. Oh, which one were you thinking of?
The one... with the palm trees that were in the middle of the building. It wasn't a house. It was
yeah.
That one.
Okay.
You made me Irish soda bread when I was having health problems.
Yes. I've had a lot of good kitchens in my life.
And then you had some bad ones, and I've seen it affect you emotionally. We should get into our Googles.
Just so you know, I cried this morning.
About your Google?
About quarantine.
Oh no. Why'd you cry?
God knows. You ever do that? You're like, this is happening and you can't stop.
Oh, of course.
And you just start. It's just like, there was nothing. Johnny is just looking at me. He's like like he knows what's happening, but he doesn't know how to stop it or if he should. So he waits it out. But I was like, I don't know what's happening. Just, let it happen.
So nothing sparked it. You just started crying about the quarantine.
I think it was, literally nothing. It's just one of those things where you go along, you're fine. You're like, this is never going to end. And you start crying and then you're fine again.
Yeah, I've had a few of those. So I think that's one of the things that I do like about doing this podcast is like, oh, I got to learn this and I got to do this and I got to do that. Like I was super busy on my computer yesterday. And then by the time I was done, me and Justin watched a movie. But like there is a part of me that's like, if I don't keep mentally busy, I know I'll just go to that little void where it's like, this is your life now. This is your life forever.
That's exactly what I said to Johnny this morning. I was like, I woke up at 8 a.m., which was actually 7 a.m. because of the time change.
Yeah, and it's useless. Why would anybody wake up at 7 a.m.?
And he was like, what? I was like, I have to get work done. Because if I don't get work done, I'm going to start thinking.
And it's the worst thing you can do for yourself right now. I always do think there should be a little time in your day or in your week where you do reflect. But I do think these like sneak up reflections where it just feels like somebody comes out of nowhere and goes, hey, things are hard and you should think about it. And you're like, not right now. I don't want to think about how things are hard now.
All right. What did you Google?
Oh, so this one is, it's funny. This is an old Google that I've had to re-Google because I've started telling more people about it. And I don't know if you're like this, but like I'll know something, I'll continue my life with that knowledge, and then I'll start telling people about it. And then they'll be like, oh, why is that? And I'll be like, fuck, I forgot the facts. I just know I'm right. So my Google is, why is SLS, which is a sodium lauryl sulfate, bad for you? This is my journey with SLS. I dyed my hair for the first time. I got like blonde highlights in my hair. I don't know, like let's say 6 years ago. I had never dyed my hair my entire life. And Dolores, who used to be both our hairdresser, you introduced me to her. She's amazing. She was like, hey, just when you wash your hair now, you need to use SLS-free shampoo because the SLS strips the color. So if you want your color to last, use SLS-free. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. But like the way my brain works is when you tell me to switch up my routine or do something differently, I go, oh, well, why? Why does SLS strip the color out of your hair? So then this is, again, 6 years ago, I start looking up SLS and it's like the worst thing for you. So basically sodium lauryl sulfate is what makes things sud. So it makes things foam. So think why your toothpaste gets foamy, why your soap gets foamy, why your shampoo gets foamy. It's the agent that makes things sud. Sud the right word? Anyway, yeah. Cool. Thank you. So anyway, I started to go, okay. And then you go down a rabbit hole. It's not the worst thing for you in the scheme of things, but it's not great. They say it's a moderate hazard. So the first thing you need to know is when I switched all my soap to SLS free, I used to be one of those people that constantly had dry hands and my hands would like crack and bleed. And that stopped almost immediately. So what it does is it kind of takes off that like first, it's a skin irritant, and it can kind of take off like that first layer of your, there's like an oil layer, and it can really dry that out and take that off. And it not only is it an irritant, but it actually makes toxins seep into your skin faster and easier. So it makes you a little bit more vulnerable. I should read something because I'm going to come off like an idiot. But it says the highest risk of using products with SLS or SLES is irritation to your eyes, skin, mouth, and lungs. For people with sensitive skin, which I would say, sulfates can also clog pores and cause acne.
The whole reason anyone puts SLS into products is to make it seem like it's doing its job because it's all sudsy.
Absolutely. So it's just an agent that makes things foam. And I would say even about like 5 years ago or so, people, because the SLS, non-SLS movements kind of started, and the non-paraben movement and all these other things. Oh, also keep in mind, this led me down such a crazy rabbit hole. I think it might be illegal in the European Union. The US has banned like 7 chemicals. Europe has banned like 300 chemicals. And then Canada's banned like 400 chemicals. And it's so crazy that we're such moneymakers that we're like, if people don't die immediately, it's not that big of a deal. And Europe's like, hey, this seems like it's a big deal. So we kind of talked about it in different episodes where like if you get McDonald's in the US, we're pretty much getting dog meat and there's like no regulation. But then if you have McDonald's in, another country, let's say you have it in Norway, it's more stringent to the rules of food preparation and culture that is in that country, and clearly to any other country. So the same thing with like, let's say Dove soap. Like Dove soap has less restrictions in the US, so they'll do whatever it takes for people to enjoy the product, even if maybe down the road it has negative effects on your body, as opposed to if Dove is in Europe, they have to follow all the chemicals that are outlawed in Europe, and they will make their Dove soap differently. So Dove soap is actually a safer product in Europe, in Canada, than it is in the US.
You found that you're like your skin had been all fucking stripped of any oils and that you bleed a lot when you wash your hands.
Also, so what I did is that I started to find out that it was something that could harm you. And I was like, well, I'm just going to take it out, all my stuff. And I accidentally noticed that it helped my hands. The other thing is I've always had gum sensitivity, or not always, I would say like the last 10 years, I had really bad gum sensitivity and I couldn't figure out, like I would go to my dentist and I'd be like, my gums hurt. And they were like, yeah, we don't know. And so then I started buying SLS free toothpaste. So now I have like Hippy Dippy toothpaste and I don't have that problem anymore. And everything says it's SLS.
It feels like the last 10 years of your life have been, wait, what the fuck?
Truly.
I feel like you've been investigating everything that feels wrong with your body for 10 years now. And like you're starting to figure it all out.
Well, I mean, absolutely. I started, like I've had health problems my entire life. And then it started to get so bad when I was 25 and it became like unbearable. And so then I started investigating and it just felt like I was opening up this file that like I would be like, oh, this is why I was uncomfortable when I was 7. And this is why I'm still uncomfortable at 25. And then sometimes because I'll be on the road and I won't have access to stuff, I will start to feel the same pains I felt when I was 25 or when I was 7. And I can be like, okay, this is how important it is not to have SLS, because if I go off, like I've had it where I run out of my Hippy Dippy toothpaste and I'll have to like use something from the hotel, like regular Colgate. I use it once, it's not a big deal. After using it about 3 times, like a full day's worth of using that toothpaste, my gums are like, it's like distracting pain.
Kind of a wimp, Liz.
Oh, I am a wimp. Oh, absolutely. I'm such a sensitive baby. You have no idea. But like, this is the thing is I was grown up, I was taught to like suck it up. I swear to God, my mom could get hit by a car and like lose an arm and she'd still go to work. And there's actually stories about my mom. My mom was doing CrossFit. This is probably like 10 years ago. She was doing box jumps and it was a wood box and she slipped and she fell on her shin. And she thought she just like bruised it really bad. So she went into the bathroom to look at the bruise and she completely sliced her shin open and you could see the bone.
Oh my God.
And so then the coaches came in to be like, hey, are you okay? They see her shin and they're like, oh my God, you have to go to the emergency room. Da, da, da. She's like, no, it's fine. My husband will sew it up. It's not a big deal. My parents are vets. That should be noted. So what my mom did, she drove 20 minutes home, made lunches for my brother, fed the cat, drove 20 minutes to work, waited for my dad to get out of an appointment. So we're talking now like an hour and a half later, and was like, hey, when you have time, can you sew up my leg? And then showed my dad the leg and he's like, what are you doing, Terry? So then he sat her down with no like drugs or anything, sewed up her leg, which was really hard because it was like the way it was sliced was like a mess, while employees were watching him and then my mom went to work. That's my mom. And my dad is very
I feel like
much
your mom giving birth is just her reaching her hand up there and being like, you're done or you pay rent.
That is my mom. My mom is also the type of person that would have a baby and go to work 2 weeks later. My mom is like, no bullshit. I know she feels pain, but she does feel like a superhero to me. My dad's the same way. So because I come from parents that are like no pain, no gain kind of people, when we would be in pain, they'd be like, suck it up, you're fine, it can't be that bad. And then fast forward, 25 years later, I'm like, I think my body's falling apart. I don't think you're supposed to ignore your body for this long.
Truly, though, like you got me saying truly, that is you.
Yep, that is me.
Talking to you every fucking day for 7-10 days, however long we've been doing this.
Yep, I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's just your Googles versus my Googles are so funny. You're like, why do I have gum sensitivity? And like, why are my hands, and how do I don't know, like you just seem to be more involved. And mine is like, how do I counteract text neck, which I don't even.
Is that your Google?
That's my Google.
Yeah, I love it. See, we're two different sides of the medical field, if you think about it that way. Where mine is like, my hands are bleeding. How do I stop the bleeding? And yours are like, my neck feels like it's gonna start. I'm gonna have like not hunchback from computer work. I'm gonna have hunchback from watching TikToks too long. And I like that.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about that, like BoJack Horseman, like the bird characters that have the like craned neck. I'm just so afraid we're going to have a world of those people. And like the tops of my shoulders and my like neck and spine hurt all the time. So it's just like, maybe it's this. It was either that or like cancer. So I looked it up, and like the stuff I do for yoga actually is supposed to help it, but I don't know if it is. It's like you're supposed to do cobra, upward dog, or anything that bends your spine the other way. But also like just pay attention to how often, like if you look around, anytime you remember when we were out in public, everybody's looking down and their neck is just craned downwards. And it's got to be bad for you.
That's why I like to hold my phone. I alternate. I hold my phone down, and then I hold my phone up really high, and I look and I text really high, and then I hold it down. That's not true.
Do you really?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my God.
Could you imagine? I'm just like, well, that's because I'm have a big fear of crane neck. I do think it's going to be a problem in the long run, just the way like we talk about osteoporosis and stuff. We've already had 20 years of people sitting at their computers and kind of hunched over their computers. And how bad has people's neck and back been from that?
Carpal tunnel was never a thing until the computers became a bigger deal in people's lives. And then suddenly everybody's talking about carpal tunnel. And I think this is the next thing. It's like text neck is like everyone's just, their spines are going to be like stretched in that position where you have the double chin. You're going to be 80 years old and your face is going to be squeezed into your chest.
Yeah, but if you're already still texting, is that really a big deal?
No, because in fact, when you die, they can just roll you up like a sleeping bag.
Oh,
because you're already sort of doing a somersault.
Yeah, like a little centipede.
It's not supposed to be cute, but
but this is what's interesting is on a normal day, you're not completely face in your phone. Like a normal day, you're like getting some work done. Like for me, this is like I wanted to do a meme. You know how like you'll get an alert and it's like you've spent 5 hours on your phone. I wanted to do one where it just said you spent 24 hours of screen time.
Wait, isn't that the same thing?
No, so my screen time normally is, anywhere from 3 to 5 hours of looking at my phone, especially because I watch a lot of videos on my phone. But now it's just going to be your screen time is 24 hours. I hate when I have to explain my jokes and they bomb twice. That's really heartbreaking. This is actually one of the worst things that's ever happened to me. And I know you're not going to edit this out. You're just going to leave it in to embarrass me.
I only leave in anything funny I say or anything stupid you say. And so
I know. I noticed it. They're just like, every bad joke Liz has said just gets left in there. But yeah, bombing twice. Great. Okay, thanks, Maria. Anyway, let's get personal.
I genuinely think that I haven't been registering thoughts like people, because Johnny's done the same thing where he's said something to me and I just smile and he's like, you're not. And I'm like, nah. All right. Let's get personal.
Okay, so my question to you is, what's the sickest you've ever been?
I was in Vegas. It was 2008, 2007, something like that. And I went to go visit another comedian, and she was working in Vegas because she worked like as a producer then. And so she was like, yeah, come hang out in Vegas. And then I got the flu, and she got so fucking mad at me for having the flu. Like, she wasn't a good friend in that way, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you would have been like, okay, what do you need?
Yeah.
Let me go get you some, like, pills. Let me get you, like, whatever you need. Like, do you need the heat on, off, or whatever? You'd have been so caring. She was like, if you get me fucking sick, like, as if I knew I had it when I got to Vegas.
Yeah,
like,
I as if you were just know. Like, where I want to be sick? The party town.
Yeah, exactly. I was so bummed. I was like, I'm in fucking Vegas. I remember I had a hair product that I was using. It was a new one. It was like one of those curl creams, like those like curl whippy kind of like specifically for curly hair creams. And it smelled so strong. Whenever I smell that smell now, I just think of how sick I was.
Really?
That's how sick I was. Like, I cannot smell that like coconutty, whatever the fuck, whippy hair cream
without like literally
again.
having like a gag reflex.
Oh God, like the first time you ever get drunk and you have a hangover, like that, whatever you got drunk on, that first hangover, like I can't have Bacardi rum ever again because I drank too many rum and cokes. It was the first time I ever experienced a hangover. It's ruined me to this day.
That
on
is
it.
actually such a great example because I got alcohol poisoning off gin. And whenever anybody offers me gin, I'm just like, are you trying to murder me? Like I get really like, and I was 15 years old and I mean, that's for another podcast, but like gin mentally and the smell of it makes me go back to being 15 and being like, cool, I almost killed myself accidentally.
15. I started drinking at 14, I think. So
me too. This explains a lot about us. So I'm assuming you drove from LA to Vegas. Is that what you did?
No, I was living in New York at the time.
Oh, okay. So you flew from New York to Vegas. You're like, I'm going to go party with my friend. And like it hit you when?
Day 2.
Damn.
And I was only there for like 3 days.
Oh, Jesus. So and the flu is like, anywhere from like 5 to 10 days sometimes.
Maybe, but like not that one. But this one was intense. And like, she just left me in the hotel. I mean, A, she had to work, but B, like, she was just like, I don't want to be anywhere near you. Understandably. But I needed medicine. Like I think I wanted like a fever reducer, like Advil or something. And I called down I was in the hotel. I called down to the front desk and they said legally they can't bring it to me because it's drugs. So I had to, when you're so sick, even going to the bathroom is a fucking ordeal.
Yeah.
I had to get in an elevator and I was shaking. I was pale. I'm probably a little bit green. And I stood on one side of the elevator and I looked so sick that people stood on the other side.
You created social distancing.
I created social distancing.
Congratulations.
Just by how I look. I know. So I was so sick, and then I had to get on a red eye back to New York because I had to work the next day or something. And I remember it was going through DC, and I think the flight got canceled, and I had to spend the night.
No.
I was in the DC airport. I had to sleep on those chairs.
No.
While being as sick as I was. I should have just stayed in Vegas, but I think I didn't feel welcome. I'll tell you that. So
you weren't like, this is the best place to stay and be sick. Man, being in an airport delayed, even in the best of health, is torture. I cannot imagine. I don't even know how you're still here. Like that would be where I would start like clearing off countertops and being like, I'll cough on all of you if someone doesn't put me on a plane.
Yeah, it was like, that was the worst time I remember ever being sick. What about you? What's your story?
Mine's recent. Mine is 2 years ago, I did a tour in Pakistan. Great tour. I'll tell you this, for as sick as you're going to hear I was, it was still one of the coolest experiences I ever had. And I would go back to Pakistan. So I was doing a tour there, and it ended up just being like a 2-man show with the booker, Umar, who put it all together. And he warned us, because I had a couple of friends that had done it before, like Carmen Lynch had done this tour before, Will Sylvans had done it, Alonzo Bowden was the first one to do it. So they were all like, hey, you got to be careful with, like, you can't really have produce, like you can't have salads, you can't have ice in your drinks. Just be careful about the food. So I thought I was being super careful. Even Umar was like, this is my, like, I think it was like his 5th time doing this tour. So he knew like what kind of restaurants we could go to and what to do. So anyway, there was a day where I think Tom had something else to do, and Umar was being really sweet. He's like, I have a friend that does like massages and nail stuff and like waxing or whatever. Like it's like a spa like place. I'll take you there. You can get whatever you want. My shoe was breaking. I have those favorite boots. My shoes were breaking and they were almost completely falling apart. So I put on my running sneakers and they took my shoes to get fixed. And then he took me to lunch. And it was like this, like, I don't think people understand, like, as comics, we're treated like garbage. And so I'm in Pakistan and everybody told me not to go. They're like, don't go. You're going to die. You're going to get murdered, terrorism. Like they're saying like every buzzword you could think of. And I'm being treated like a princess, like truly carted around. I mean, I also had we had military and people with guns outside of every place. So it wasn't like, it wasn't like I got off the plane and I'm in like castles and stuff. It's how I think people think you're taken care of when you work at a comedy club or you work at a theater. And I've had some good experiences, but 90% of them are not great experiences. And here a booker is making sure I'm comfortable, is taking me out to lunch. He put a free spa day with the like, it was just awesome. Second day is this kind of great day. And we go out to lunch. Everything seems fine. We took a picture. We did an interview with the restaurant. It was so funny because that's the meal that got me sick. And I even told Umar, I was like, I have stomach issues. So if I have stomach stuff. I don't always know. I guess the best way to say is deli belly, even though I'm in Pakistan. I don't know. Some kind of food poisoning. But the first 2 nights we were there, we did like open mics just to kind of test our material and see how it worked. And then we started doing the theater shows in Karachi. So it's the first night of us performing for like a real crowd, paid money. I'm doing like a half hour. And I would say maybe 2 hours before the show, I start feeling sick. And I tell Umar, because he told us, if you feel sick, let us know. There's drugs. We can kind of help you. So he's picking us up from the hotel. And I go, Umar, I'm starting to feel sick, but I don't know if it's like regular Liz sick or if it's something more. He's like, we'll get the drugs anyway. We'll just be prepared. Then I'm about to be announced and I have this shooting pain in my stomach. Like with comedy, I don't think people understand that a lot of times when you're sick, you get this burst of adrenaline and endorphins and you actually don't feel bad on stage. Just for while you're on stage, they come back almost immediately once you get off stage. I have this shooting pain. I'm almost curled up on the steps behind stage as I'm waiting for him to announce me. I get on stage. I feel the pain the entire time. So the entire time I'm like, ugh, but it's just a shooting pain in my stomach. Then the last joke, I start getting like cotton mouth. So like my words, like I just feel like I smoked weed. I just feel my mouth feels really dry. I think about getting water, but I'm like, you know what? It's my last joke. It's no big deal. And then I'm about to say the punchline. And my first thought is I'm going to vomit.
Oh no.
Oh my God, I'm going to vomit. So I tell my punchline and I have a bunch of tags after this punchline. And I was like, I can't do my tags. I'm going to vomit. So I do my punchline. I shake Umar's hand. I run down this hallway. And I look at this kid, he was like almost think of like an intern, and I go, where's the bathroom? But he doesn't speak English. So now I'm shouting it like a psychopath. I'm like, where's the bathroom? And he just looks at me and I was like, fuck. So then I keep running. Clearly, you can find a small room. I find the bathroom. As soon as I open the door, I like projectilely vomit. I vomit in my hair. God. I vomit on my shirt. I get maybe 70% of it in the toilet. And I just stay there. Sorry for the graphicness. And then I wash myself up a little bit. And then there's this couch, a very dirty couch that you would never put your face on. And I curl up in a ball on that couch. So Umar comes back and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, mm-mm. And he goes, do you want to go home? And I go, uh-huh. And so he goes, okay, let Tom finish and then we'll take you home. Because he was like, there's after parties every night. We're going to have after parties. And I was just like, no after parties. Like, I was like, no. So him and a driver put me in the car. Umar's sitting up front. I'm in the back, curled up in a ball in the back seat. He's like, do you want to put on your seatbelt? I was like, I do not. Keep in mind, they also just don't believe in lights or stop signs there. I would say that was the scariest part of Pakistan is like when I was sat up, like for real, I'd be like, oh, are these all suggestions? People just blowing through red lights.
Cairo's the same. Remember that video game Frogger?
Vaguely.
It's like where it's just like you try to get across the street without dying. That's if you're a pedestrian in Cairo, that is your life.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I saw the same thing when I was in Cairo, when I was in Pakistan. It was like, but this was like, I don't think I've like. Here is somebody driving me around, and I was like, oh okay, yeah, no, we do not want to keep me safe. Okay, so I'm in the back, fully knowing after 2 days that that's how he's driving, just not caring. So then we get to the hotel and Umar goes, do you want me to help you to your room? And I was like, no. And then I was like, yes. So like within like the same sentence, I was like, no, yes, I do. And then we're walking to the elevator. I hand him my bag and I go, I'm going to make a run for it. And he goes, okay. So we get in the elevator. He's holding my bag. And I go, Umar, I don't think I'm going to be nice to you. And I'm running to my room. And he's like, okay. And that's what I did. The doors open. I ran to my room. I go in my room and I just start vomiting again. He's holding my backpack and he's just watching me vomit. And I was like, Umar, leave. I don't like, that's the last thing you want is somebody watch. Like, it's the most vulnerable thing you could be doing.
Show's over.
Yeah, I was like, no. And he's now become a very good friend of mine. I think after someone watches you vomit, that really brings you close. So I yell at him. He leaves. And then I am probably curled up on the floor doing all the business for 24 hours straight. It was,
oh no.
And this is the thing is I love my mom with my whole heart, but my mom is not a comforting person. That's not how she does that. It was the first. And so I've never been sick and thought I want my mom. That's not like, I've been sad and been like, I would like to talk to my mom, but I've never been sick and thought my mom would take care of me. Sorry, mom. It's not like, I don't know how to say that without it being negative. She's just not, I don't think there's a lot of people, maybe my friend Amanda, because she's like that kind of caretaking person. You're also the same way. Like you would make me soup and be like, what do you need? So anyway, I was so sick and so scared that I was on the floor for 20, like for the entire night. And all I could think is, I want my mom. That's all I could think. I was like, I just want my mom. And I called my boyfriend, and God bless his heart. He sent me like animal memes because he knows that's what I like. So he was sending me like pictures of cute deer and cats. And I was like, no, it's not helping. Like I literally was like, this isn't good enough. I'm not exaggerating. It was truly the worst I've ever felt. It was for about, I would say, for a little less than 24 hours of just pure on the floor. Could not leave the
Did you
bathroom.
miss another show, or did you?
This is what's crazy about it, because this is where I am my parents. I told them, like, just let me rest the whole day and then I'll do it. So I rested the whole day. I probably ate almost nothing. I think I ate a little bit of rice, like plain rice, but I think I ate almost nothing. I did the show. I felt very weak, but I was able to do the show. And then his mom cooked like this amazing like lunch for us. And because my stomach was still like tied in knots, like she just made me like plain homemade yogurt and like plain rice. I don't think I ate anything other than plain yogurt and plain rice for the other 4 days that I was there.
I gotta say, if I have a stomach bug from food, if someone goes, do you want some homemade yogurt? I'd be like, get the fuck away from me.
You know what? I actually felt the same way, but I had no ground to stand and I wasn't in a fighting place, but I was like, all right, okay. Like I truly was like, I thought the same thing. And then I had it and I was like, this, first of all, this is amazing. And second of all, I was so upset that I couldn't have this homemade like Pakistani food. And that I was like being again catered to. And like, it was this home, like I love home cooked meals. And I was so sad that I was like, I can't have anything fun. I was like, this.
I don't blame you. Like Pakistani, Northern Indian, Pakistani food, so good. So like some of my favorite food.
Yeah. And I missed out on this like amazing experience because I don't even know what I had that messed me up. I just know the meal that messed me up. Even with all of that, it was probably one of the best touring experiences I've ever had. So that just shows you how cool Pakistan is and how great that experience was. That I was like, it was the sickest I've ever been, the scaredest I've ever been. And I'm still like, I'd go back. I'd go back and eat nothing, but I'd go back.
Should we get on to our topic?
Yeah, we should. Very much so. So this, I'm very curious to see how you feel about this. Our topic is, can stress cause physical pain? I kind of want you to start because I want to hear if you have any experience with that. And then I kind of have like a long history with it.
I used to have panic attacks when I was in college, but I never understood how anxiety could manifest itself into the physical. And I just, nobody had ever taught me about it in school. Nobody, like I had no background for panic attacks or anything like that. So the first time I had one, I thought I was dying, and I was driving and I pulled over on the side of the road and I called an ambulance because I thought I was having a heart attack. And that's how real it is.
Yeah.
So that's what's so confusing about it, is that I wasn't having a heart attack. They explained like what a panic attack was, and that
that's pretty amazing that they would even call that. Like there's a lot of times where they like wouldn't even tell you that's what it is.
Really?
Yeah. I've had tons of experience where people like go through that stuff and they're like, we'll keep doing tests. And like they would, and maybe things have changed over the time, but I know tons of people that have had panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and people are just like, okay, well, we don't see any underlying issues. And so you're fine, but we'll keep doing tests to figure out what it is, when it's always been an anxiety attack.
Maybe it wasn't definitive. Maybe they just said, like, maybe the EMT just said it's probably a panic attack because we don't see anything wrong with you.
Yeah.
I think it was something along those lines. Anyways, I was told I was fine, but it was so real to me and I just didn't understand that. So then I lived in fear of having a panic attack, which is what caused more panic attacks. I don't know if anybody has experience with panic attacks, but that's basically what happens. But that's my first experience with stress manifesting itself in the body. And my dad like has a lot of like stomach pains and back pains, but he goes to the doctor. He's seen so many doctors about his stomach pains and nobody can find anything. And I think that might be stress related as well, because I'm a pretty difficult person to have as a daughter. And,
I like how your diagnosis is you as a daughter. Like he goes to all these specialists and they just write it out there like, you are dealing with stomach issues due to Maria.
Yeah, I am literally a pain in
his stomach,
the butt, I guess, but it's the pain in the stomach. Yeah, I was like, it's not the butt. Basically, it's just like, I'm just fascinated how something can manifest itself into like physical pain. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, I'm somebody that's pretty much dealt with anxiety and panic attacks and all that stuff from a young age. I didn't have the label for it until I was in my 20s, but I had been dealing with it since I was probably, I would say, like middle school and high school. And then I had to or even elementary school, I think, but I had to look back at my memories with that knowledge to understand that's what was happening, because I didn't understand why it was happening then. I definitely didn't understand why it was happening in my early 20s. And what's really fascinating to me is, like, we're talking about anxiety, but it took me a long time in therapy to even acknowledge that I have anxiety and how that manifests. But the thing that I still struggle with is because I've spent most of my life with feeling stressed or having stress, that eventually it kind of equals out, and you can be physically stressed but no longer mentally acknowledge the stress, because that level of stress becomes the equilibrium. It becomes like it like moves up the bottom. So like, let's say being calm, not being in fear, not having too much on your mind, let's say, is where you're supposed to be. Because I've spent most of my life being at a high level of stress, eventually my equilibrium becomes that high level of stress. And when I actually say I'm stressed, it's because it's now even higher than that normal level of stress. So I still live in a daily level of stress. I just don't acknowledge that it's a daily level of stress, if that makes sense. My anxiety attacks come from when I'm at that elevated level of stress, but then also I think I've suffered from chronic back pain on and off, I would say college on. And again, only in what I've learned and looking back have understood that it was all stress-based. So I think in general, I'm an anxious person that kind of bottles up my feelings and then has these anxiety attacks. That same thing. I've had it where, it feels like I'm having a heart attack. I've had it where it feels like my throat is closing. I've had it where like I think I have like almost like a fever and I'm like shaking. So I've had all the physical attributes that you've kind of talked about with anxiety, but then I've had the ones where it's like a low hum stress that turns into chronic pain. I've had lower back pain, like I said, for probably over 10 years, that comes on and off. I think the longest I've consistently had lower back pain was probably 8 months, but sometimes I'll have it for a day. Sometimes I'll have it for a couple of weeks. Sometimes I have it for a couple of months. And then when I ended up having it for 8 months is when I started to really do research, because I was like, I don't understand what I did wrong. Like especially because I went to all the doctors and they were all like, you're fine.
Yeah, well, that's what I remember about it, is that you were going everywhere to figure out what was wrong with you, and nobody saw anything physical about it at all.
And that was the first time that I was like, okay, if they're saying I'm fine, I don't have like a slipped disc or like whatever kind of like vertebrae language people have for when they physically do something wrong, there has to be something more. So I think it was my therapist that gave me healing back pain. It's Dr. Sano. He actually died a couple of years ago, but he was still very active. He was still an active doctor. There's tons of videos on YouTube about him. But I've probably read his book twice, and then I'll reread certain sections when my pain starts to come back. But his whole thing is that the brain uses pain to distract us from experiencing negative emotions. And that the way I've kind of, I think, digested this information is that you're so stressed in your life for X, Y, and Z reasons. Maybe you're going through a divorce. Maybe you're stressed at your job. Maybe you're having trouble dealing with a boyfriend, a brother, a coworker, whatever it is. You don't really know how to deal with it. You're taking on all that stress, and your body starts to physically hurt you to let you know that you're not okay. Because you think you're okay. I still go to work every day. I still take my kids to school. I'm not okay in the sense that I'm not doing the stuff I need to do as an adult, but your body's going, you're not okay. You're actually not okay.
Right. Physically, do you know what actually happens in your body when your body creates a hormone from stress? Like, do you know what's going on in the like physical interaction?
I don't. I would think the stress hormone is also there for like fight or flight. So you can't just say stress is bad, because that's also the weird thing is like, they're always like, you got to get stress out of your life. You can't have any stress. And you're like, there needs to be a little bit of, some of it is what motivates you. So the release of a stress hormone would be during fight or flight, where you have to protect yourself or you have to get out of a bad situation.
Okay. So stress hormone isn't the result of like actually being stressed.
I don't think so, but this is where we really are both morons. I would love to know if somebody could explain it to us.
It's weird to me because I feel like we give ourselves stress hormones like every time we get on stage. Like I've always wondered if that adrenaline rush that we get every single time is good for us, this fight or flight we get.
Yeah, because it even says adrenaline, commonly known as the fight or flight hormone, is produced in the adrenal glands for receiving a message from the brain that a stressful situation was present to you. But
both saw the same thing. But here's the thing I want to know, and this is far-fetched. I feel like if you ever saw the oh shit, what was it called? It was an HBO documentary about a guy who killed a few people. He watched his mother commit suicide and then he killed his wives. And part of me thinks he's trying to relive this moment so that he can gain control of it. Because he couldn't control that situation, he reenacted it in a situation where he was in control. That's a weird theory I have. I've never had anything support that theory. I don't know anything about anything.
Well, I mean,
so I'm wondering,
I think that's almost different. I mean, to me, that's childhood trauma.
Right. But we both experienced panic attacks when we were younger. And I just wonder if this need to do stand-up comedy is almost us being in control of the stress rather than the stress like controlling us.
I like that theory. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
We are two non-therapists starting now. That's actually really fascinating. I have never thought of it that way. I read a lot about childhood trauma, and I definitely know I do have habits in my life that are both positive and negative that stem from childhood trauma. I could say the same about my parents and their childhood trauma, because it keeps going, guys. That is really fascinating that if you spent your childhood in this kind of fight or flight or these stressful situations, how you try to, you're more comfortable. I've always known, this is where like comedy is really fascinating. Like they have that theory that like only like that sad clown theory that only sad people or people that come from bad childhoods do stand up. And I go, I don't know if it's that. I will say this, comedy is so hard and so toxic and so relentless in so many different ways, both the performing aspect of it and the industry aspect of it, that you do need to have some resilience that you built up as a child through other difficult situations to not only be able to deal with this environment, but also to want to deal with this environment. Like the amount.
Yeah, seriously, if you had a happy childhood, the first time you bomb, you're like, I don't fucking need this.
Why would you do that to yourself? Like, that's really what it is, because I don't think being creative or being funny completely stems from having a bad childhood. I think the toxicity of comedy clubs, of performing, of making yourself vulnerable to strangers, both from physically performing, and then God knows the internet's added a new fun level of toxicity. Then the industry side of where you walk in, you do an audition and they go, oh, is that your face? No, thank you. Like that kind of stuff, those multi-layers of toxicity, rejection, abuse, what have you, becomes a skill that you mastered when you were younger. So,
oh, damn.
Yeah, bro. I've read books.
Seriously.
I've read books.
I've never thought of it like that. Cause like, oh my God. Okay.
So I do think what you were saying earlier about these kind of panic attacks when we were both in college, but then also we can withstand so much more emotional and psychological pain than a lot of people from before, but we still have our breaking point. And I think this is our body saying, you're not a superhero. You're not completely resilient against this pain. And if you continue to be at this level of stress for too long, you're going to burn yourself out. It's going to hurt you in the long run. You're going to develop cancer. I think there's so many different ways that your body tries to slow you down, especially our society in America. It's work, work, work. You know, this is the first time I think anybody in society has taken a sick day or a sick week or stayed home because they were sick. That's not even, we don't even have the budget. You get like 3 sick days, and if you take them, people think you're a psychopath.
Well, which brings me to my next question is that, like, do you have any idea? Because I think in Eastern medicine or like Ayurvedic, or I'm making this up, but like they talk about like the specific region of your body. Well, I think that's what like reflexology and everything is about. Like there are certain pressure points on your foot that correlate to other parts of your body or whatever. Like, do you think that the kind of trauma is like manifesting itself in the body in different places, kind of like specific to the trauma?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have as much experience with that. Like from what I've learned from healing back pain and other books that I've read is that like specifically when you are tense, you tense up your body, and it tends to be in your shoulders and your lower back. Also, you can have tension headaches, and headaches are often a way that your body tries to stop you. So like I've experienced everything from headaches, lower back pain has been my main thing, and then also like stiff neck and stiff shoulder. But there's different parts of the body that literally become physically tense, lock up, and then it starts to cause residual pain. And that's what I've dealt with. That's what a lot of my friends have dealt with. And it seems to be the most common thing. But I know what you're trying to say is that, let's say you were abused let's say you I don't know, had some kind of other pain that was in a physical place, do you think that pain comes back later in that place? Is that correct?
Sort of, yeah. Like you have different chakras or something. Like they say, like I don't know if a throat chakra is a chakra, but like if you have something that you're not saying to somebody, you feel it in your throat chakra, like that kind of thing. Or if you're uprooted from home, or your shelter need isn't in place, then your root chakra is a problematic area for you. Does that
It
make
does.
sense?
I just don't know anything about it. Like that's like, and I actually have like seen Eastern medicine doctors, especially when I was having really bad stomach pain, because I'm also somebody that's dealt with stomach issues most of their life. I have some allergies that by avoiding those foods has been helpful, but I still have.
This is what the whole of this podcast is going to be. It's going to be, what the hell happened to you,
Yeah,
Liz
yeah, yeah,
Mealy?
yeah, yeah. It's just it no longer becomes even vaguely funny. It's just us crying at the end of each episode.
But overall, after all the episodes, we finally unveil what traumatic thing or what experience happened to you that you have a fucking shitty ass stomach, a terrible back, your gums hurt,
It all stems to being
because you can't
attacked by
handle Colgate.
a kitten. I was attacked by a kitten when I was just a little
Yeah.
kitten myself, and
And now you take pictures of kittens as a way of being in control of the
yeah, I
situation.
really do. I think there was some kind of kitten attack. I did live next to my mom's cat clinic for most of my life, so I remember this so clearly. This is completely off topic. So I didn't really have a babysitter, and we lived next to my mom's cat clinic. So I would come home from school, and I would sit in the lobby and do homework. And sometimes, my mom would be in appointments, and I would go roam around. And I was very young. I think I was like 7, maybe. And there's one part of the practice that is literally just for sick pets. Like if they were border cats, like their cat parents went on vacation, they would be in a different section. So the sick pets, and again, I couldn't read. So I would go and hang out with the sick pets. And of course I saw a kitten. So I'm like playing with the kitten in the cage and da 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 da. And my mom finds me and she goes, "Did you touch that kitten?" And I go, "No." And she goes, "It has ringworm." And I go, "I didn't touch it." She goes, "Go wash your hands." I go, "I didn't touch it." And then I got ringworm.
Yeah.
So it just shows you all the trauma that I had with animals, yet I still love them. Completely off topic. All right, guys, everything we said is probably wrong. We would love to, first of all, we'd love to hear your Let's Get Personal. Maybe not so much detail about the sickest you've ever been, but I'd be interested. So we always want to hear your Let's Get Personal. I would love to hear about your examples of physical pain that was manifested because of stress or mental stuff, especially if it isn't just lower back or headaches or shoulder pain. If you think your stomach issues, like Maria's dad, is similar. Yeah, so write to us at two non-doctors, the full word, at gmail.com. And then we're on Instagram at two non-doctors. You can listen to a bunch of our episodes. You can give to our Patreon. There's so many things you can do to support us so that we aren't stressed during this situation. I'm
Save us from ringworm.
Yeah, save us from ringworm. Save us from the coronavirus. Save us from the fact that United States is probably handling it the worst of any country in the world. And I am in the epicenter in New York City. And who knows what's happening in London. Right, Maria?
Yeah. No idea. I haven't been outside of my house to even find out.
So we're both just bunkering down, trying to entertain you guys while also giving you bad science. Sorry. But we appreciate you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Is that your face? No, thank you.